So while everybody comes in, we'll start in a few minutes. Dr. Karyn, I don't know. So Dr. Karyn and I have some crazy friends that just finished a world marathon race. So they did 7 marathons in 7 continents in 7 days. So I actually I tag teamed. I went away. They finished in Miami, so I went away with my wife to Miami, partially intentionally when they finished. So we had a few days, and then the last day they were supposed to start at 11 a.m. They ended up starting at 12 a.m. the next day, like Tuesday, I guess. And my wife had to fly out, so I took a flight 6 a.m. But they did this world marathon race, and one of our friends had not shin splints, worse than shin splints. He broke his shin. He had torn tendons in his knee. Did all 7 marathons and created shin splints, which was even crazier. So a lot of craziness going on, but it was cool to see them. So they started in Antarctica and they finished in Miami, with a lot of places in between. Let's give it another minute or two and then we'll get started. And you're in Toronto, right, Dr. Karyn?
I'm in Toronto, and I'm in an area called Muskoka. Andrew, have you heard of Muskoka?
No, I've been to, is that outside? How far outside the city is that?
Okay, I'm going to type it in to the chat function so people can look it up. Everybody needs to know of Muskoka. Muskoka is the hotspot, especially for anybody who's in real estate. Look up Muskoka. So Muskoka is 2 hours north of Toronto, and it's like the Hamptons of New York.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so a lot of our neighbors are Americans that have bought property up here, but it's like the Canadian Shield. There's 3,500 lakes. It's absolutely breathtaking. So,
and is it a little bit more laid back in the winter than gets busy in the summer, or all year?
Yeah, it's very quiet in the winter, and then in the summer, it's for July and August where all the celebrities come. It is like the celebrity hotspot. If you look up Muskoka and just look up Forbes, Architectural Digest, you'll see all the articles, all the magazines that talk about Muskoka. It's like it's the celebrity hotspot for vacations. So it's really magical. So that's where I am. So hence so my Canadian, you can see in terms of my 2 layers of sweaters here, because I'm looking at 2 feet of snow.
So you may get 50 emails from brokers offering to find a tenant for your property in the summer, now that you just announced that. But
yeah, there you go.
We don't have a shy audience. So let's jump right in. I want to give a quick intro for Dr. Karyn Gordon. And Dr. Karyn had suggested that we don't be shy with the chat box. If you have any comments, any commentary, any thoughts, certainly jump right in. Don't be shy. And if you have questions, obviously let us know. We're going to keep the questions to the chat box, and I'll chime in with them as needed. But a quick intro. Dr. Karyn Gordon is the CEO and co-founder of DK Leadership. It's a global leadership coaching company. Work with more than 500,000 people, including Fortune 500 executives, family businesses, entrepreneurs. I did speak with Dr. Karyn, and she knows that a large part of our audience are real estate brokers. So we're going to try to focus the leadership discussion around the real estate world, community. She does have a doctorate in marriage and family with additional certifications in leadership, EQ, wellness, and career direction. Media personality. She's consulted with Good Morning America, Forbes, and the New York Times. This is the coolest part, or one of the coolest parts. Top 10 world chart most popular TED Talks. So after this, definitely check out Google TED Talk, Dr. Karyn. You can see that. She's the author of this book, 3 Chairs. It's a Wall Street Journal bestseller, USA Today bestseller, #1 bestseller for Amazon. So Dr. Karyn, tell us a little bit about DK Leadership, and then we'll dig into some specific areas.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And hi, everybody. So wonderful to spend this next hour with you. So DK Leadership is our global coaching company. We work with companies all around the world in 7 countries. It has really evolved I started my work 25 years ago. My doctor's in marriage and family, as Andrew mentioned. I started a coaching practice for families 25 years ago, focused on families and teenagers, also known as millennials. Millennials grew up, they headed into the workforce 15 years ago. So at that time, we were really encouraged to expand our company to work not just with families, but really businesses. A lot of organizations were now hiring millennials. They didn't understand how to manage them, how do you recruit them, how do you retain them. And so we really started really expanding our work 15 years ago, working with teams and companies globally on leadership development. And one of the things we figured out pretty quickly is that there's a certain kind of secret sauce on business leaders, entrepreneurs that have a really great retention, and especially with millennials, but really with all different age groups. And the secret sauce was emotional intelligence. And so for the last 15 years, that has become our wheelhouse. That is our niche. Our specialty is really explaining what is emotional intelligence, how you can build it, how that can drive everything from your sales team, your productivity, your communication, but from a very tactical perspective. Like I find that in today's high performing teams, everybody wants things that, just tell me what I got to do. Here's the problem. Just tell me with what I have to do. That's where we come in. As a company, we come in and we really help organizations of all sizes to really teach emotional intelligence to their team, to really drive that productivity and to lower the stress. That's always kind of what we're trying. We want to drive productivity. We want to lower stress. And you do that by learning and developing your emotional intelligence. So that is what we do. We have enormous fun with it. We work with all kinds of organizations because this is a topic that really resonates with everybody. And we actually just love it. On a side note, I was just saying to Andrew beforehand, in a different career, I would have been exactly in all of your shoes right now. I love real estate. I bought my first property when I was 20 years old with $17,000. It's a crazy story. And we ended up selling it for a lot more to somebody in the Canadian Hall of Fame. And I got my love for real estate at 20 years old. And so since then, it's a side hustle, but it's quite lucrative. We develop properties. That is a whole other business that my husband and I do. And so if I'm not working on DK leadership, I'm literally working in real estate. And it's just our hobby. We just love it so much. And so I applaud all the work that you do and happy to answer all your questions as it relates to what we can do to kind of really serve you in the important work that all of you do.
Yeah, that's amazing. I guess the biggest thing I've learned over the last year or two is that leadership is just like, if you want to relate it to, learning a new skill set, right? Learning how to, row or bike, or it takes practice. And there's actually from reading your book, there are tangible, action items that one should take. So maybe we can dig in a little bit more to that. It's not something that you're born with, right? Maybe some people may have some natural abilities more so than others, but many of us have to work at it.
Correct.
And so what's like what are your thoughts there? And then how do you build that skill set?
Sure. No, it's a good question. So leadership is a huge space. Okay. And so this is one of the things, it's a massive space. And so when I kind of started going into this, all I did was figure out with, we're all in business. We all understand that there's lots of different kind of parts of leadership. The part though, that I found the most powerful was on the people skills part. And for anybody in real estate, this, like people can be really smart, but have poor people skills and they won't be successful. And so what we found, and certainly we've seen this with all kinds of different organizations, is while the technical skills are still important and the education is still very important, what is actually more important, you need both, okay, but it's actually the people skills. You have to master those people skills. And so the people skills or the emotional intelligence, there are 5 core skills that all of us need to really kind of develop. And, Andrew quickly mentioned in terms of my books, let me just quickly share it just to kind of give a framework. So one of the things I like to do is I like to take a lot of data and I like to simplify it so it's super easy for people to understand. So this is my book that I wrote called The 3 Chairs. You can grab it off of Amazon if you like, but this is like, there's basically 3 different types of leaders or 3 different types of attitudes that we all have. You've got kind of the person in that left chair that is more insecure, the insecure leader. You've got the one in the right chair that is more the arrogant leader. And you've got the one in the middle chair, what I call the confident great leader. Okay. And so it's a really great, simple framework. If you see the TED Talk, I kind of go explain the 3 chairs and how you can literally teach it to your children, your grandchildren, but also your team. And so when we think about great leaders, one of the things is around how do we help ourselves and our team learn to sit in that middle chair? Because there's a lot of people, and again, we can probably all think of that person maybe in our team, in our office, that they have a leadership position, but they're not a great leader. They're arrogant, they blame things on other people, they don't take ownership, they don't take responsibility. Well, what do you have? You got the person over there. Then you might have that person on your team that's in the left chair. They are afraid to make decisions. They constantly need this affirmation. They avoid conflict. Okay, then you've got that leader over there. You can just kind of like start logically thinking about how powerful this is. And what we want to do is, okay, how do we help ourselves sit in that middle chair? The middle chair leader, the confident leader, is the person who sets realistic goals. They stretch themselves. They ask for help. They learn how to deal with conflict. And there's essentially 5 core skills all of us can learn. Okay, so all of us can learn, and I'm going to put them in the chat function because I like things to be really tactical. Okay, so I mean, because we've all heard leadership speakers and books and all that, and I want you to be walking away with really practical, tangible, concrete examples. All right, so it spells the acronym. I'm going to type it into. I'm a kinesthetic learner. You'll figure that out but myself really fast. So here we go. Communication. So the 5 core skills, it's the acronym cards. I just put it into the Zoom, the chat here for you. So C stands for your communication skills. Okay. So that's your ability to give and receive feedback. That's your ability to learn how to be assertive. And okay, so when you think about your role, a lot of people do not know how to deal with conflict. They say about 25 to 40% of our time is wasted because people don't know how to deal with conflict. What happens is the person in that left chair, they tend to avoid it. The person in the right chair, they blame everybody else. The person in that middle chair, they learn how to lean in and focus on problem solving. Okay, so that's the first part. That's the first skill that is really important to learn, is your communication skills. Your A stands for your attitude and your goal setting skills. Okay, I'm putting into the chat for you've got it. There you go. So the second skill you want to develop is kind of your overall mindset towards yourself. You want to be really aware and cognizant of what are you telling yourself. We all have had those moments where we chase a deal and we don't get it. And in that moment, you want to ask yourself, what's your self-talk that you're telling yourself? Are you telling yourself, I'm not good at this. I'm going to be a failure. Or do you say, you know what? Okay, I need the feedback is data and I need to lean in and figure out why I didn't land that deal. You want to be really aware of what is your mindset and your attitude of yourself. In addition, you want to really focus on goal setting skills. So somebody in that middle chair, they set stretching but realistic goals. Really, really important. In performance, that we're not setting it too low, we're not setting it too high, that we want to stretch ourselves, we want to push ourselves, but we tend to strive for excellence. So that's the second one. Your R stands for your relationship skills, okay? And your relationship skills are basically, it's all kinds of skills. And in the book, I talk about it in a lot of detail, but this is your ability to put yourself in the shoes of somebody else. This is your ability to put yourself in the shoes of your clients. What are they struggling with? What are they thinking? What are their concerns? And you have to, this is where empathy comes in. And anybody in sales, we have to understand our customer. We have to understand where are they coming from? We can kind of come in and just tell them with what we think, but we have to be able to put ourselves in the shoes of that person. This is why, having these skills is so critical for anybody, any profession, but specifically, I think, in real estate. So your relationship skills, that includes things like your empathy, your maybe even understanding cultural differences, generational differences, gender differences. It's realizing that the way that I see the world is different than how another person sees the world. You have to have all of that in that middle chair. Your D's is an interesting one. D stands for your decision making, and your time management. A lot of us don't realize that time management and self-discipline is all part of EQ. A lot of people don't know that. Okay, so somebody in that middle chair, they know exactly what is the goal, what is it that I want, and they step on the gas. Okay, they know what is it I want, they step on the gas. So even if they don't feel like it, they do it anyway. Okay, so somebody who is a great leader, they get stuff done. They're very reliable. They say they're going to give something to you on Friday, and they give it to you on Friday. So that is your decision-making skills. And the last one, which is really big, especially for high performance, are your stress and your emotion your energy management skills. So somebody who is really high in the EQ category, they know how to manage their emotions. They know how to manage their stress. They know how to set boundaries. They know how to say no. They know how to very strategically, carefully manage their time so that they can actually perform at a very high level and actually with lowered stress. So those are the 5. Okay. So that is why I think when we start unpacking what is EQ, it starts to make a lot of logical sense of why EQ is, they say it's 80 to 90% of a person's success is really in today's culture is about EQ, less IQ. So, and I will share I'll put it really quick, just as a recap on this, and then we can go deeper. Here's our website, dkleadership.org. We have a really great scorecard. A lot of people want to, they want to do a scorecard on themselves, right? They want to kind of measure their EQ. This is a lot of times a question that I get asked is, can you measure your EQ the way you can IQ? Absolutely. We have got a great, and it's free. You can go to dkleadership.org and you can get it, and you can actually measure your own EQ. And it basically it's going to measure it according to those 5 categories. And then it'll be very clear for you. Okay, I'm doing really well in these 3. I got to work on these other 2. Okay, so it becomes a really practical, actionable step you can do. And you can do it with yourself, you can do it with your team. And the whole thing is around awareness. Okay, so it's like you're becoming aware on what are these, I need to master all 5 skills. And that scorecard is a really good first place to start.
Yeah, this is, I mean, a lot of it resonates with me. And, it's funny, in real estate, it's a very emotional business, right? We have clients that are super laid back, super intense. We have clients that, want to speak to us at 10 o'clock at night, or, all of us have received phone calls at 7 o'clock in the morning, which is outrageous, but it's part of the game. So a lot of, part of the book that resonated was creating like barriers, right? Creating times,
Yes.
and also making sure more importantly, taking care of yourself in the morning, right? And
yes.
making sure you get important things done
yes.
early in the day, so then you have time to deal with everything else, and you're not, frustrated, right? Because you're getting pulled in many different directions.
So we do with our executive coaching in our company, we're dealing with all high performers. I mean, that is who we serve. And so, and a lot of times people think you can't be a high performer without stress. And that's actually not true. When you study the science on high performance, and we work with incredible clients, they're all performing at a very high level, but they have learned on how you can actually perform at a high level and reduce your stress. People think that they're together. No, they're separate. And the way that you do it is you have to, exactly as you said, Andrew, you have to very strategically set up your time, how you manage your time, how you set up your boundaries, so that you can operate at the highest quality level with actually lowered stress. Like when I think about some of the clients we worked with, we walk them through a certain process, and they'll say things like, I've never been performing this high level. My team loves the boundaries that we're now setting. My wife says that I'm like a different person because I'm way less stressed out. My kids love the new me. Like I literally have this consistently. And of all the skills that we actually teach to different high performers, it's the time management and stress is the one that I find they see the benefits so fast, because for a lot of them, they're already pretty good at goal setting. They probably have a pretty good mindset. Their communication is like, okay, it's the time, the decision-making and the stress, those 2. And if people don't learn it, you'll kind of cap at a certain level. You'll kind of keep hitting a ceiling in terms of your performance, right? Because what happens is that if we don't really manage our time around kind of high performance models, then what's going to happen is we're going to burn out. Okay, so that is why for so many high performers, they're really good maybe in those first 3 areas, but the last 2, they're like, man, I have got to focus in on to kind of help myself go to that next level. I have to manage and learn the D and the S part of the cards.
And I was going to ask you, say, for example, there's a, high-end client, or biggest deal that won, they want to
Yeah.
see you randomly on a weekend, you have something planned with your family, how to manage that. But if you're, I guess, overall, if, 9 times out of 10, you've, made your family a priority in the morning, and, once in a while that kind of situation comes up, you don't want to create, consistency with, putting the top client before the family or personal matters, but obviously there are exceptions. So I guess it's more about creating consistency where, you're doing things as you want most of the time. But
You know
still
what? That's
part
a
of
really good, Andrew, that's a really good point. We had a situation where one of Canada's biggest companies, they had an emergency and they needed me, the CEO wanted to connect with me about how to manage it. And it was on our family holiday. And I'm really good about boundaries. And my husband says, you need to take this call. He's like, he goes, Karyn, he goes, this is the 20%. So the whole thing about, when you create frameworks, you aim, here's the framework, and you're aiming for 80%. So you have margin, that 20% for those exceptions when that big client needs you. And your family is okay with it because it's 20%.
right.
It's not, this is, he's doing it again. He's always unavailable, right? So when it's the 20%, families don't mind. When when they really don't know if their family time is now going to be taken over by work, they're going to start getting resentful for it. So I think what you just said, Andrew, is
Yeah, I love that.
important. Yeah.
So within transactions, whether it's working with another real estate broker or a client, inevitably they're going to be, or with your team, if you manage a team,
Sure.
emotional, situations or stressful situations. I guess maybe what's, a good rule of thumb or just a simple takeaway, to deal with those high stress situations, that can come up, or there's someone makes a mistake, right? Someone makes a mistake and, it hurts the deal, or you're dealing with somebody who's adversarial, you're dealing with a client that, has unreasonable expectations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You kind of just a few, simple ideas that people can focus on to stay grounded for themselves.
I think those are excellent questions. So when I think about it, is that as much as everyone is in real estate, you're really in the people business, right? Like exactly, like you're in the people business, right? So you're in the people business and people are making a really big decision. Okay. They're making big decisions. They've got a lot of emotion, as you said. There's a couple of things that I think are really helpful for everybody on call. And literally, it's funny. One of my clients just literally yesterday, she was just literally buying a house. And so we were actually, so this is very timely actually. And she was feeling very, again, it's emotional. This is, for a lot of different reasons, a lot of family stuff going on, but this is going to be her first purchase. And one of the things I had her do, and this is going to be really important for everybody listening, is I had her write down her value system. So before she's actually going to buy her house, and this is a massive investment, this is a $10 million house, what are her values as it relates to a house? Now, why is this so important? Is because if people are not clear with their values, they're going to have a very difficult time making a decision. Okay, so how do you help manage your client? Because you're really all about, this is about the people business, you're about managing your clients. You want to make sure that they are making a decision that in the end, they're going to be really happy about. You want to have happy customers, right? You want to have happy customers. You want to have people that are so happy with their final decision. You don't want them to be just kind of panicked or feeling a quarter to be making a decision for a quick sale. We want to kind of think long game. So I had my client literally say, I want you to write down your top 5 values around buying a house. Like, what are you looking for? She's like, well, what do you mean? Okay. And I said, well, what would be kind of like the dream scenario? And so she started kind of mapping it out in terms of location, how many bedrooms, what her budget was. There was a certain kind of aesthetic she looked, and she kind of like made it her top of her whole list. And then I had her boil it down to the 5. Why was this so important? Because once she had her 5, and then she went back out shopping. Okay. Her agent probably thought she was, crazy because she couldn't make a decision. But once she had her 5 value system, then she went back into the market. She bought it on Monday. So that's what happens. It helps people make decisions. And so, as all of you on the call, like you are kind of guiding your clients to this decision making. So you want to make sure, so that is a fantastic first question that you can actually really help them, is in terms of figuring out what are your value systems as it relates to And that is going to help them make a decision. And when they have made a decision, they're going to have more peace. They're going to have their stress level is going to come down. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone submitted this question, and it's so applicable. I always say, I want to control clients in a positive way, not because, nothing unethical, nothing, we're being, very transparent and educating them, but we do real estate every day, all day. I joke around, if I don't, you could be a corporate attorney, you could be a, hedge fund manager, you could be the king or queen of the world.
Yeah.
But you don't know real estate, you don't know the ins and outs.
Yeah.
So when you're dealing with, a client like that, how do you, I guess, I don't know, create a leadership, status with someone who may be a high-end client, or when you're in the middle of a transaction with another real estate broker or a client, how do you, lead among leaders? Like, how do you create that status and that, the level of expertise where people trust what you're saying?
I think it's a good question. I think there's a few things, when you think about the great leaders, again, you think about leaders in the great, in that chair, that middle chair, they're kind of doing a couple of things. They have a level of competence, right? So that, okay, they know their material, they know the laws, they've got kind of some track record. And so it's great to share that, okay? Because, credibility, people want to know you have that IQ, okay, for sure. But once you've kind of it's like check, they kind of trust that, okay, with what you're doing. Then you really want to focus more on the EQ, focus on terms of the leadership skills, the EQ side. And so, and you want to kind of think of yourself, and I think this is really important because, again, when you think about business, you want your clients to be happy, right? When you've got happy clients and they're going to now refer you to a whole bunch of other, so we want to kind of think the long game. And so I have been a big believer in equipping clients. Okay, so equipping clients in terms of I want to help you find exactly what it is that you want. Okay, so it's almost like you're the guide, you're the coach, you want to empower them so that they really feel like they are the hero at the end of the story. You're not the hero, they're the hero. And if some of you might have heard of a great book, it's called The Story Brand. I love this concept around kind of how a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we make ourselves the hero. And it's not, you want to make your client the hero. Your client's the hero and you're the guide that's going to help them achieve what it is that they actually want. And so asking very, and even with our executive clients, I'll say, listen, you're on the field, I'm the coach. You tell me what is that you want, and I will coach you the fastest possible way to get there. You're going to do the work, but so you really kind of empower your clients, and then and getting them to do some of their own critical thinking. So in some ways, Andrew, you're almost kind of helping them identify their own leadership. Like you need to lead because you want them to lead their own life, and you're kind of guiding them in this kind of process, right? So I think that's why for a lot of people, they don't know how to make decisions. It's very emotional. You've got a lot of competing factors. People a lot of times haven't managed their money properly. And so there's a lot of angst. And so for you to be the guide to help them bring clarity in terms of exactly what is it that you want? Or here are 3 questions I would love you to think about so that I can really effectively serve you so that you get exactly what it is that you want. So that they know you are on their team, you are on their side. That is going to have enormous, that's going to play out very well for you. When I think about our favorite agent that we work with in Toronto, that we bought all of our properties with, she's been with us for 25 years. We're very loyal. One of the things that I have loved about her is that she said, when we first got into real estate, in terms of the residential, apartments and all that, she goes, I'm going to teach you how to do it. I'm going to teach you how to do this. And I'm going to guide you how to do this. And I will even sit with you and show you how to do interviews with tenants. And we were young, we were in our 20s. And she really became not just an agent, she also became a friend. She also became a coach and a mentor. Right. So she really has been with us this whole journey and was able to kind of she's a phone call away. So we're able to kind of always have that kind of relationship. And so that's kind of when I think about you want to make this a long-term relationship with your clients, really think about how you can serve them, their siblings, their children. That's kind of the long game you want to think. Don't think short term. And so so it's not just, you want to kind of almost, you want to empower your clients so they become leaders of their own life.
Yeah, no, it's all about creating, it's not, we don't want to make this a transaction, right? We want to make this a long-term relationship.
Yes, yes, yes,
You know, I
exactly.
always tell clients, well, we're going to educate you, we're going to teach you from a legal
Mm,
perspective.
mm.
Ultimately, they're the business person, right? They're the decision maker.
Yep,
Of course, we can give business advice if they want, but
yep,
it's
yep.
it's their decisions, their money.
Yes, yes,
So I
yes.
find that helps a lot. We have a question from the audience. Love the value-related question, Dr. Karyn. What other questions do you find are critical to ask in order to guide a client in a gentle way?
Yeah, great. So, so here are the questions that I ask as a coach. Okay, so one of the things I love about leadership and coaching is that once you have a few of these tools in your toolbox, you can apply it to literally every industry. You can apply it to real estate, you can apply it to manufacturing, you can apply it to hospitality, and so coaching is the big thing right now, right? So coaching, and you are really, all of you and myself included, we're coaches. We are there. And I love how you said, Andrew, like, this is not a transactional relationship. This is a relationship business, right? We really want to make sure that we are building a relationship. And so you are their guide, you are their coach. And so I love metaphors. I find metaphors are just really helpful for people to understand. And so the metaphor that I like to use with clients is, I'm the coach and you're in the field. You tell me what the goal is. And then my job is, I'm going to coach you as to the best of my ability, exactly what you need to do to achieve your goal. So it's very much like a partnership. Okay. The partnership model is actually really important because you could do your part and clients don't do their part. They're not going to get their goal. If you keep sending them all the listings and they don't do anything with it, or they're not available, they're not going to achieve your goal. So you want to actually really focus in on teaching them that this is a partnership model. So I'm going to do everything, I'm going to do my part, you do your part. I'm very confident you're going to actually get your goal. So right away, you're trying to teach them that this is a partnership model. This isn't you as a servant that's doing all the work. Okay. And I think this is actually really important. Okay. So this is
Yeah, that's really, because a lot of clients will, I don't say abuse, it's a little aggressive, but take advantage of the relationship for sure.
Yes. And so you want to start teaching, this is a partnership model. I'll do my part, you do your part. I'm very confident you're going to get your goal. If I do my part, you don't do your part, you're not going to get your goal. So right away, you're teaching and training your clients. This is how you work. Because bottom line is, you want them to get their goal. And I've had clients before where I do my part, they don't do your part. And I'm like, this isn't a good fit. That's okay. This isn't a good fit. So, come back when you're ready. And I have fired clients. I'm not interested in doing all the work in a relationship because people aren't going to get their goal, right? So you want to make sure that you're training clients right away. And so part of training your clients right away is, part of the process for me to really make sure that you are getting your goal. There are going to be a few questions that I might be asking you. And so the values one is actually a really good one. Another one that's actually really good is, the values kind of like helps you understand what the end game is, right? Like in terms of what is it they want. But another really good one is, what are the roadblocks you think that might prevent you from actually getting that? What are the roadblocks that you think might be, let's say we find that perfect property that checks off all the values. What is one of the roadblocks that you think it might be difficult to make the final decision? And that's actually a really good one because you can think about things like, is it the mortgage? Is it the interest rates? Is it the mortgage? Is it, I don't know if I can get my partner on board. This is a lot of my friends that are in real estate. They say they're real estate agents, but they're really marriage therapists because you get one person that wants it, the other person doesn't. And so it is actually really important when you do get them to do their values question, get couples to do it together, because bottom line is they need to be making the decision actually together.
Yeah. It's so funny. I've been saying for the last few weeks now that the new year's here, and 6 months ago with interest rates, it was probably unprofessional and not correct for you to take the focus off of interest rates because it was national news, local news, everybody was obsessing about it. But I'm saying now the market in New York is opening, right? It's getting busier and busier each week. So I'm telling brokers, it's okay now, it's appropriate now for you to shift the conversation. Interest rates is still a factor, but let's talk about, this is the location you want. New York is very, life event heavy, right? People get married, divorced, jobs, most people live in the city in an apartment 3 to 5 years as opposed to the suburbs, 10, 20 years. So I'm explaining or, encouraging brokers to, take the conversation solely away from interest rates and talk about the other value
Yes.
living in New York provides. When I bought my first apartment, I was hung up on my interest rates. Remember, my boss at the time said, Andrew, you just got married. You're going to have a child. This is where you want to live. I wanted the biggest apartment I can get for the least amount of money on the Upper East Side. And I found it. So, and interest rates went up. The same thing happened, not as dramatically as now. But he said, stop, stop, stop. You're obsessing about like the wrong thing. So how do you like politely and, with some authority say, listen, interest rates are important. It's your money, right? You have to be comfortable, but let's not lose sight of everything else that you want that New York City provides.
Yes. I think that's a great point. And that's where, when you kind of get them to kind of identify their, 4 to 5 values, finances and affordability is going to be one of them, right? So a lot of times that is and what can they afford based on the interest rates, right? So that's kind of all part of kind of that kind of conversation. And I think that's why having the full value system is so important, because yes, that is one variable, but there are other variables, location, right? So, and this is where it becomes a value question. Would you rather a larger apartment in, a different area of the city, or would you rather a small, based on your value system, would you rather like, a big apartment in this location or a smaller apartment in this location? That's a value question. And a lot of people, they have intuitively kind of thought about it, but it's all kind of like floating in their head, right? Like they don't have a process. I like to take people through a process. Like, how do you make decisions? Your first thing you need to do is you have to figure out your value system. And that is for everybody. That is for real estate. That's for job. That's for who you're going to marry. That's for like, so once you have clarity on your value system, all of a sudden the decisions actually start kind of like lining up.
I love it. Michelle said, this is so good, but I'm afraid I'm not able to retain. So yes, it's all in the, actually, I read the book twice. I just read it. I finished it this weekend. I call the book, it's a textbook with a lot more flavor. It's a lot more entertaining than a textbook, but yes, it'll go through like in a step-by-step process, kind of how to work through these issues and what to look at. But it's a lot more entertaining than a high school textbook. So I hope that's appropriate description of the book.
Andrew, can you put that on Amazon? That is actually so good, because you know what? I think a lot of times things are, they're very philosophical, right? So they're very philosophical. And so a lot of times people are like, yeah, I get this, but what do I do? Like, give me something to do. And so if anything, I probably steer too much on the tactical, but because I want it, like when I'm learning something, I'm like, just tell me what I got to do and I'm going to go do it. Right. So, but yeah, that's a great quote, Andrew. That's a great quote. I love it.
And it's a quick, easy read for sure.
Yeah.
This is, New York City real estate transactions have a lot of people involved, a lot of moving parts. So I guess, you have a real estate attorney, a real estate broker, a mortgage banker. I would say we're all equal because we all need to get the deal done, help.
Right.
And you can have multiple clients. So I guess when there are many people involved, right, sometimes it's not just simple as, you speaking one-on-one with a client, right? There's other factors. So decision-making in that capacity becomes more involved. So that's kind of a, more of a nuance, but I guess the same thing though, right? Just kind of making sure everybody understands, at least your client understands, what your goals are together and working towards it.
Yes. And also, language is really important, right? So this is where the communication now affects their decision-making, right? So these 5 skills will intersect a lot. But one of the things when you are working with different teams, you might find, okay, so talking about that, which I think is a really good point. So you might see yourself here, you might even see your client here, but some of the other people they've actually hired are over here. That's going to be your most challenging, okay? Because people that are sitting in that right chair, they're arrogant. They tend not to be really open for feedback. They tend to blame things on other people. And so what you want to do in that middle chair is don't take it personal. That's just kind of the way that they are. Just kind of like try to let it kind of, brush off of you, but also really lead the conversation. Okay. So as a leader in it, so making sure that you are completely razor focused on your client. We're all on the same team. I find that language is really important. Even when you've got somebody who's over here, we're all on the same team. Let's focus again, what's the end goal? So you kind of are trying to you're trying to almost build alignment with all these different kind of players, making sure that there's clarity around, let's focus again on the client and what the end goal is. The end goal is this. So here's what does everybody need to do in order for us to kind of get this done for the client. So you're trying to kind of build a sense of alignment and don't get stuck on pointing fingers, because especially with that left chair or that right chair, they are not going to be interested. They'll actually get massively resistant, and all of a sudden things can kind of start spiraling. So you focus on the end goal and the client, and that tends to kind of keep people a little bit more focused.
Great. What's your technique with conveying negative information, or maybe not negative, but whether it's you're a leader and you have a team and somebody maybe didn't do something the correct way or the way you wanted it, or maybe your client, lost a deal, or maybe something's, going off the tracks, or maybe there's an issue. Is there a process or a technique with, information that you're uncomfortable, speaking about, and maybe, put your client in an uncomfortable situation?
Yes, absolutely. So with communication, going back to that first part, it is really important when we're trying to develop great leaders within ourselves and our team, that middle chair is not perfect. Their middle chair is just, it's just the person that acknowledge that they have a lot of things that they're doing well, but there's also things that need work. And so it's very important when you're actually, for yourself and for your team, that you are helping to make sure that you are creating a culture of feedback, because feedback is the only way we're all going to improve. If we're resistant to feedback, we are not going to improve. And all of us on the call, clearly we're here because we want to do a great job. We want to serve our clients. And so feedback, you want to kind of create a culture that feedback is in our DNA. This is what we do for feedback. We do this because this is going to be how we're going to actually improve. And so you start training that to your team. You let them know, I want ongoing feedback. Let me know, what am I doing well as a leader and what actually needs work. If you want to be really gutsy, like just kind of take this to a whole new level, you know what I would do is I would take the scorecard that we did, okay, that I sent. So get it, it's for free, and give it to your team and say, I would love to know how you would rate me as a leader according to these 5 skills. If you want to just take this topic and take it to a whole new level, that's what I would do. I would do it for yourself as well. So print one for yourself. So you're actually measuring your own leadership EQ, and then ask your team, I would love for you to kind of give me some feedback as a leader. What am I doing well and what needs work? And I am going to lean into this. There's no consequences for being honest, because now what you're doing is you're teaching them that you are basically modeling from them with what's actually really important. If you want them to not personalize feedback, as leaders, we have to show them first how to do it. And one of the biggest things in that middle chair mindset, the biggest thing, around feedback is that they're feedback hungry. Okay, so they're not just open to it, they're actually asking for it. The person that left chair is feedback fragile. You can't tell them anything without them kind of falling apart and crying or giving distance, or they really are very overly sensitive feedback because they personalize it. And the person that right chair is their feedback aggressive. Okay, so that is one of the biggest differentiators between those 3 mindsets, is really helping ourselves, our team, really be in terms of open for feedback. And then when, and listen, team members are going to make mistakes because they're not perfect. So you want to kind of really teach them, saying, we are a feedback hungry culture. You're going to make mistakes. I'm going to make mistakes. We're going to focus on, as fast as we can, learning from those mistakes so we can actually improve. That's our culture. So when you see your team member making a mistake, and I say when, because they will make a mistake, as we will all make mistakes, then just be really upfront with it. This part is great. Keep doing this. Let them know first with what they're doing well. Keep doing ABC. Love that. Next time, just do this part different. So it makes a conversation. I'm not a big fan of performance reviews. I find from a tradition perspective, it's good. Certainly a lot of our companies that we work with, they still use them. But if we really want to build great leaders on our team, feedback has to be an ongoing conversation, not something that they're getting it in a report twice a year.
Awesome. Well, I want to be respectful of your time, and thank you so much for joining us. I know I've gotten a tremendous amount of value from your book and just chatting with you in general. I highly recommend everybody grab a copy. And any quick parting notes?
I'll put up the website again here, just so everyone's got it. But it is the It is the next level for anybody who's thinking, I want to really lean into this for myself and my team. And by the way, for anybody who is a parent, you can actually get your kids to do the same assessment. Kids actually start learning these skills really young. And it is just an incredible way to kind of teach your skills around, yes, school education, all of that is super important. But if we really want our kids to be successful, these are the skills that really are showing, based on research, that actually is the best determinant of how successful our children are going to be. So
awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. You're amazing. And everybody, thanks for joining. I hope you enjoyed the hour as my lights go on. We have a new office and my lights go off automatically, so I have to figure that out. All right, everybody, have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.